Hey, what's going on? So, I want to talk about something. I was working today, and one of my coworkers said something that made me really sad. It made me reflect, and I just feel so much sadness. And he said, this is something I've heard a lot. He said, I like it when it's busy because it makes the day go by faster. Now, in and of itself, you wouldn't think that's sad, but when you examine it further, you realize that it makes the day go by faster. So you want the day to go by. But the thing is, we live once. We are young once. Why would we want our lives to go by faster? Why would we not want to savor the life that we have? And then you think about it, it's because we don't get to enjoy the vast majority of our lives. Vast majority of us don't get to because we always need to be on a hamster wheel. The hamster wheel is called jobs, 9 to 5 or otherwise. Whatever job you do, and that job can pay a little money, that job can pay a lot of money. I've been on both ends. Either way, for the vast majority of your life, you're doing something that you wish went by faster. You're wishing for your life to go by faster, and you die at the end. You die at the end, man. You don't you don't stay here. You're dead. And so many of us are wishing it just went by faster. And that is so sad to me. Now, about jobs, I don't hate jobs intrinsically. I don't. And the job I'm at, I don't hate that job. In fact, it's a good company, and I work with good people, and the job I do is not hard. The pay is even, it's okay. It's not great, not terrible. Like, reminds me of uh, Chernobyl. 3.1, 3.6 Runkin. Not great, not terrible. But the thing is, every job that I've worked so far, or most, I should say, is such a huge opportunity cost. And what I mean by that is that you're spending time doing stuff that it's not feeding you. The vast majority of the time, you're doing stuff that you have to do. And there's varying levels of, well, the word is suffering that comes with it, right? Depending on how much of a fit you are with that job. So if you get a job that's more fit to who you are as a person, you're going to end up suffering less because you're trying to fit yourself. The box fits you better. And if you have a job that doesn't fit you, which I've done plenty of that, you're stuffing yourself into a box that doesn't work for you. So you end up suffering more. And they all pay varying amounts of money. But the money doesn't change the fact that you're spending your time. And what's really most important in life? Is it money? Is it time? Maybe a mix of both. But if you don't have the time to enjoy your life, what's that money really worth? And the thing is, with jobs, there's not really an expiration date. There's not really a stop date. You don't just work a job for a few years and then be done. Unless you get very lucky. Maybe you can. But for 98% of us, it doesn't really work that way. And even for the people that can, what happens? Lifestyle creep, right? All of a sudden they get used to having all the money, and then they still get stuck in that job. They end up having what's called golden handcuffs, right? Getting paid all this money, but they're still stuck in this job. And you know, I've always been very inquisitive, very curious, and not necessarily rebellious, but I do question authority. Um, Kind of always been that way, even as a kid. I'd be like, you ask why, and then you get a bullshit answer. Even as a kid, I could see through bullshit answers. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. What's up with that? And the thing is, this system doesn't make much sense either. It doesn't make any sense. You spend the best years of your life, the vast majority of your time, you spend doing stuff that doesn't do anything for you. It's an opportunity cost. You're losing the opportunity to actually live your life, to feel free, to feel alive, truly alive. I got a taste of that feeling. When I traveled abroad, I felt alive, you know. My money went further, and I had saved a decent chunk. For a minute, for a hot minute, I felt alive. And that feeling is addicting. It's addictive. Once you taste it, it's really hard to go back. And that's why I feel the way well, it's partially why I feel the way I feel now. But frankly, I kind of knew it all along. Even after I got out of university, I realized I didn't want to work a job. I wanted to do my own business. I wanted to have the freedom to do that. And when I first got out of university, I really struggled to find a job. And I didn't struggle, well, maybe in part, but I didn't struggle mostly because I was underqualified, or I wasn't good, or I got bad grades. I got good grades. I did well. I did really well in university. I struggled because I didn't want the job. I didn't want it. I was trying to force myself to do something I didn't want to do. So it was very difficult to try because I didn't want the job. Because I knew it wasn't a life I wanted to live, where you spend the vast majority of your time doing stuff that makes you feel hollow, you know? Doesn't And it would be fine. The job would be fine as a hobby or a side gig, but not 8 hours a day, you know? Eight, and that's 8 hours at the job, but say you get an hour lunch. Now it's 9 hours. Say you commute 30 minutes back and forth. Now it's 10 hours. And that's 5 days a week. Not for a short time. It's 5 days a week forever. Or until you quote retire. But with the way it's going, right? Retirement age keeps going up and up. By the time you retire, it's a high chance you're gonna die before you retire, or you're gonna die very shortly after you retire. And that's the statistics too. People retire and then die. And the stress wears on the body, man. It wears on the body. There are a lot of books. There's doctors that have observed this and written books about it. Stress accumulates in the body. It fucks you up. And you get 40 years of stress at this job that doesn't really fit you, but it's what you got, right? messes up your body. By the time you actually have freedom, you don't have the youth to enjoy it anymore. Is that a way to live? I don't think it is. Frankly, I don't even think that's worth it. I don't think that's worth it. And I'm probably going to keep on trying to look for a way out of this um, forever. I don't think I'm going to stop because I can't. I I can't bring myself to accept such a life. I can't. That's not worth it to me. And I'm always kind of shocked, actually, by how so many people seem to accept that as their lives, and they just accept it, and somehow they're content with it. I've never understood that. Never, never understood that. I don't get it, and I don't to this day. I don't understand it. I don't understand how people are content in that. How they're not looking hard like me for some way out, some way to be able to make a living, but not be on this fucking hamster wheel all the time for the rest of your life. Wasting the best years of your life doing shit that you don't like. That is not that you just don't like. Maybe you don't even hate it, but there's just the opportunity cost again. There's things you could be doing, you could be living, but instead you're stuck wherever it is you're stuck in. I can't stomach it. I can't stand it. I can't. Every part of me rejects that, and deep inside, every part of me is fucking furious at the pressure to do that. It's a lot easier to do that. I have the opportunity to do that, but I just can't see it. And some of my fear about doing that is the whole golden handcuffs thing, because when I was in the corporate jobs I was in, the office jobs, and again, there's nothing wrong with them. They were good jobs and good companies. They were good, and I'm grateful for them. But when I was in those jobs, I felt so trapped. And I was trapped not by the job, but by myself. And I was trapped. I think this is how people stay in them, because it's safe. It feels comfortable. It's not terrible. You know what I mean? It's not, you don't hate it. You're still wasting your life. And it becomes hard to leave that because it's so comfortable, because it pays well, because people tell you you should be grateful to have that job and that you're lucky. Because when you tell people what you do, they, their face changes, like, oh, wow, you must be so smart. And that feels good. It feeds your ego, and you feel good, and you feel safe, but you don't feel alive. You don't feel alive. I don't want a life where I don't feel alive. I can't do it, man. And the thing I'm scared of most is falling back into that. A life where I'm not truly living it. I'm just coasting through it. So there's got to be another way. There's got to be. I'm going to keep looking. Have a good night.